joined with Joy Weiderman of Jobo Holsteins in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We also have the team from American Dairy Association Northeast. And later on, we will be joined by Brittany Snyder of the Center for Dairy Excellence. So now I will turn it over to Amy.
Great. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I do just want to share a few slides here quickly before we pass it off about some of our educational resources that we have for your classrooms as part of American Dairy Association Northeast. So I will switch to my share screen really quickly. So again, before we jump into the real fun part of this, of the virtual farm tour, just want to talk about who we are as American Dairy Association Northeast. We cover the 6-state region that you see on your screen right now. We are dairy farmer funded and dairy farmer directed. So we are funded by dairy farmers throughout our region, dairy farmers like Joy and her family. And we work in a lot of different ways to deliver a strategic, comprehensive marketing plan on behalf of those dairy farmers. So, within our retail programs and our school programs, which is a lot of what we'll talk about today, always working to make sure that our dairy farmers are represented and that all of our consumers in our area learn about the benefits of dairy products and dairy farming. So what you'll experience today is one of our programs available free and available at a lot of different times as our virtual farm tour. We started this program a couple of years ago under the direction of Emma, who is on site with Joy today. And as you'll see, we do offer these to different grade levels, pre-K to third grade, grades 4 through 6, and then a high school at a 7 to 12 grade level. So we did take a break from our live virtual farm tours in the spring, but we do have those planned for the fall. And today you'll get to experience really what those feel and look like as a student, as a teacher. They are live, as you can see with Joy, to ask questions throughout the time. We say it's almost as good as actually being on the farm. You get to see all the animals, ask questions of the farmer live. So it's been a really neat experience that program that we've worked with. And as you can see, so any registration information for the upcoming virtual farm tours, again, we do have the ones planned for the fall, would be at this website link. And Cassidy has these slides and we'll share them with the group after the session today. We do have recordings of all of our previous virtual farm tours as well on our YouTube channel. So you can see really what it was like with the classrooms all joining, which is just a little bit different than what today will be like, but those are all on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check those out as well. Another program educational program that we started really during COVID as ways to really connect with our consumers in a different way, connect with those parents and students that were at home more and looking for educational resources throughout the day, is the Facebook Fun on the Farm series. So that has been going on since March, and those cover a lot of different topics. We've had a dairy veterinarian speak on those. We've had a nutritionist, as well as various dairy farmers throughout our region talking about technology on the farm, staying cool, our cows keeping cool, as Joy already mentioned. It's a little bit warm today, so that's very important. So those videos are all on our Facebook page at American Dairy Northeast, and also on our YouTube channel. They're housed there. So if you're looking for other kind of additional educational videos, those are available as well. And then last but not least, we do also work with a company called Young Minds Inspired to develop curriculums for you all to use in your classrooms. These are free and they're all online. We do send out a packet, and if a physical packet, if you'd like one of those, please don't hesitate to let us know. But all of these are online, they're all free, and again, cover a lot of different aspects of dairy farming, but also how that relates into their daily life. And of course, keeping with those common core standards, they are all worked through a curriculum. Again, Young Minds Inspire, the curriculum company. So they make sure that the information is in conjunction with what you're teaching in the classroom. So those, like I said, are all housed on the ymiclassroom.com. So you can take a look there. And if you have any questions about those, Kara Trotter, our other teammate, is on this as well, and she would be happy to help you with any more information that you would like about YMI. So with that, now we're into the fun part. I will turn it over to Joy to welcome you to Jobo Holstein.
So I'd like to welcome everybody to Jobo Holstein Farm. I was actually telling Emma this morning that every time she plans to come, it rains the night before. So you're gonna see us we're muddy right now, but we needed the rain, so I'm not complaining. Maybe I want her to come maybe once a week from here forward so we continue to get rain. But I'd like to welcome everybody to Jobo Holstein Farm. I enjoy the opportunity to educate you on a dairy farm and what all we do here. So we're starting with our calf hutches. We're actually in the process of building a barn to house our calves in. So right now, these are where our calves come to. When they're born, they come to a calf hutch. So when they're about, I would say 2 to 4 hours old, 6 hours at the most, they come to a hutch. When they're born, they're fed their mother's first milk, which is colostrum. And they're also given a vaccination, which is in a bolus that we give them that vaccinates them against like E. coli. They're brought to these hutches to keep them separate because calves are a lot like infants. They're a little more susceptible. So we want to separate them from the cows so that we can keep them healthy. They're fed milk twice a day until they're about 2 months old. And they're given free choice grain, which they'll roughly start eating when they'll start eating grain when they're about 5 days old. They'll be eating grain. This is the grain. It has everything in it so that the calves can be healthy and grow. And I kind of put it when I'm doing a school tour for kids, I'll kind of put it like this is just like a baby getting, baby food. We give them this. It's a little softer by time so that they can chew on it and stuff. And they'll get this until they're old enough that they can go onto a forage because they're ruminants, so they eventually will be able to eat like a forage that they can ruminate and stuff. So if you look in there here, if I can bring my little buddy back out here, the calves are given ear tags that identifies them so that we can keep track of her, and everything is on a computer, so everything goes to the computer. Much like when you go to the doctor's office, all your information is on a computer. These guys, everything that's done to them is also on a computer. And I don't have my phone on me right now, but it actually all syncs to my phone, so I can look up information on them, know what vaccines they got, all their genetics and everything about them. But in their tag, you'll see their birth dates there. And on the other side, that's who their sire is. And then there's the round white button on the top of her ear. That's an RFID button, which stands for Radio Frequency Identification Device. And that is, so anywhere this calf goes in the country, they can trace her back to being born here. But not only that, when she becomes a cow and goes into our parlor, that's actually what identifies her in our parlor. So when she walks into our parlor, which you'll see on the video then, when she walks in our parlor, it'll actually ID her as 9990, and it'll actually sync how much milk she gave, what time of day she was milked. It can tell me what group she is. So that button, that button kind of keeps track of her everywhere she goes. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should be telling you about the calves. Yeah, they're in these hutches they're on milk for about 2 months, and then they leave the hutches when they're about 2.5 to 3 months, once we know they've transitioned to feed good and everything. And then they're put into group housing, kind of like I would call group housing kind of like a preschool. Like you send your kids to preschool so they get used to interacting with other children. Well, we do that with calves. They're interacted with about 6 to 7 other calves, and until they're used to it and acclimated good. And then once they're getting older and ready to breed to have their first calf, they'll go to our heifer farm, which is a much larger group, of course. We'll breed her to have her first calf so that she's calving right around 2. So that means we're breeding her right around 14 to 15 months old. And we do that, and again, I tend to kind of compare it to people try and understand the way a cow develops or grows. So a 15-month-old calf, I would say, is probably like a late teenager or 20s, early 20s person. So, you know, just to show you how quickly they mature and develop. So she'll have her first calf by the time she's 2. A cow will not make milk until she's had a calf. A lot of people don't understand that process. So she won't make milk until she's had her first calf. And as I said, we'll breed her to have her first calf so that she calves around the age of 2. Emma, is there anything else you think I should share about here? Okay. Do you guys want to does Cassidy want to prompt the parlor video while we move to the facilities where we house the cows at?
Yes, we will switch over now.
Now we're in the milking parlor. Our parlor is a double 18 herringbone milking parlor. It was built in 1997, so it's starting to show its age, but it still does an excellent job of milking our cows 3 times a day, 365 days a year. We can milk, as I said, 36 cows at a time in here. We focus on milking one side, which is 18 cows, and then while they're milking, then we'll focus on milking the other side, which is 18 cows. Everything that makes our parlor work is actually in the basement. It's actually a subway parlor, so it's actually underneath of us. All that's up here is the milkers themselves and the meters that we use to the computer systems that put the milkers on, but all the mechanics and everything of the parlor are below us. I'm checking the milk on the cow to make sure like everything's healthy with the milk. And then I'm going to dip her with an iodine foaming cream or foamer that helps sterilize and clean the teats off.
Right now.
And then I'll wipe this all off to get their teeth good and clean. And then I'll apply the milker. An average cow will milk out in about 3 to 4 minutes. Some a little longer, depends how much milk she gives. But I would say an average cow here milks out in about 3.5 minutes. We milk our cows 3 times a day, 365 days a year. We do this to help keep them healthy. It keeps their milk, their udders don't get as full, doesn't stress them as much. Our cows are currently averaging 82 pounds a day, and that equivalates to approximately 10 gallons of milk. So then as we see here, the cows will be milking out, and you'll see, like I always tell people that when a cow comes into the parlor, they kind of look like a grape. They're full, they're plump, and as they milk out, it'll try to change to a raisin. You'll see they get kind of wrinklier. Their udders will get like a softer texture to it. And everything in here is computerized, and it senses when the milk flow slowed down so that then the milker knows to come off. Most times, as I said, it takes about 3.5 minutes. You do have an occasional cow that will take up towards 5, but 3.5 minutes is pretty much so typical. We don't really want the cows to be standing in the parlor more than about 8 minutes. A cow's job is really not to be standing in the parlor a lot. She's supposed to come in, produce her milk, and we want to get her back to her comfort in her barn as quick as possible. So then we dip them when we're finished with an iodine solution. So then once the cows are done milking, I can show you where the milk goes to from here. I can take you there and we'll head there next. So in here, this is the milk house. The reason we call it the milk house is because it's where the milk lives. So we were just in the parlor and you saw the cows being milked. The milk actually is pumped over to these big bulk tanks. These bulk tanks hold 6,000 gallons of milk. These tanks are emptied every 16 hours here at the farm. Now, when we're bringing that milk over from the cow's body temperature is 101.3. So that milk is 101.3 degrees. But it is our goal to get it as cooled down as quick as possible. So as it's flowing through the pipes to these bulk tanks, it goes through what's called a plate cooler. And that is a system that helps to cool the milk even faster, so that when it hits these tanks, it's already started the cooling process. Now these tanks here get the milk as cold as quick as possible, so we have to get it to roughly 38 degrees. So this tank here just started filling this morning, so it's currently at 43. By the time, within 3 hours, it should be at roughly 34 to 38 degrees is where we want it. You don't want it to go under 34, because then you start flirting with the freezing process and you don't want the milk to freeze. So it's always our goal to keep it as cold as possible. Every time this milk is emptied, or this tank is emptied, it is sterilized and washed with a sterilization system that we have to be inspected once a month by our co-op, Land O'Lakes, to make sure that we pass all those health and safety guidelines. We have to score at least a 92% or higher. And it is our goal here at Jobo to score as close to 100, if not 100, as possible. If we don't score those scores, if they find something wrong, we can't ship milk. It's very, very important that we are shipping the healthiest and cleanest product that we can possibly. So in that process of checking the cleaning process to make sure everything, our milk inspector also evaluates our protocol for how we take care of our cows. It is very important that we do not sell any milk with antibiotics in it, because it's against the law. So none of our animals, none of the milk that hits this tank has antibiotics in it. Now, if you have the question about whether we treat an animal with an antibiotic, if we have an animal that is sick, we will treat her with an antibiotic. But that being said, she no longer can go in the main milk stream. I can no longer sell her milk, and I have to send her, she lives in her own barn, a hospital barn, which at some point we will see. She'll live in the hospital barn until she has became healthy and passed all the tests so that I can send her back into the mainstream. This can take anywhere from 10 days to as long as 35 or 40 days to get a cow clean enough to resell her milk. So when we want to take care of our cows, we want to do everything we can to make sure they're healthy, but we also want to make sure we are selling a healthy and clean product to our consumers. If it accidentally happened that a farmer was to sell antibiotics in her milk, the milk is tested. So every time a tanker comes to pick up our milk, it is tested. And knock on wood, it has never happened here, but if it would happen that there would be antibiotics in the milk, we'd have to dump that load of milk. We are not allowed to sell it. If it passes and gets through, then we can start to get fined. We can get fined from our co-op. We can actually be shut down. We can actually not sell milk. So it's a pretty serious thing to sell milk with antibiotics in it. Once it's tested here, then it gets tested before it's unloaded at the bottling plant, and then it's tested again before it goes into the process. So it goes through several tests to make sure there's nothing in it. And again, if it gets caught, it equals large fines. It equals not being able to sell your milk. It's just not something we would want to do, or anybody would want to do for that matter.
All right, back to you, Joy.
So now we're in what I call our freestall barn. This is our barn where the cows are housed at. The reason it's called a freestall barn is because they're free to roam around and lay in the stalls wherever they like. In this barn, the stalls are bedded with sand. It's actually sand like, much like you would lay on at the beach. They actually say ultimately a cow should be comfortable enough that I should be able to jump up in the air and land on my knees and it not hurt me. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have really bad knees and I'm not brave enough to do it, but we do our best to keep them as comfortable as possible. Our stalls are bedded 3 times a week. They're groomed on the opposite days. They're actually raked so that we're constantly turning so that there's fresh sand. And then every time they leave the leave to go to the parlor, we actually take a hand rake and we groom the stalls by hand also. In the barns, it's flushed with water. So the barns are flushed out every time these cows leave the barn. The flooring that they're standing on is actually flushed clean. So it's actually flushed clean with recycled water 3 times a day. As we're in here, you'll be able to see the sprinklers just cycled through while you guys were watching the parlor video. So in the summertime, cows are just like you and I. They don't like the heat. They don't like how hot it is. They actually are just like you and I. They like to get wet, and then they like to stand by the fans and cool off. So as we're in here, you'll see that the sprinklers will come through and and the sprinklers will make them wet. It's on like a rotation that they'll run for like a couple seconds, soak the cows down, and then the fans will cool them off, and it just rotates through all the groups all day long. So a cow's ultimate temperature that she likes it outside is probably, I would say she likes the 40s, the 50s. They don't like it super cold, and they don't like it super hot, just like you and I. So we do our best to keep them as cool as possible. Now, this particular barn you are in right now is what we call as a tunnel ventilated freestall barn. So that means that there's fans at the far end and the sides are closed, so it makes like an air conditioning feel. So if you're standing where I'm standing right now, it's a really nice breeze coming in here right now. Like I just told Emma that maybe I'm just going to stand here the rest of the day because it feels really nice where I'm at. But we try and make them as comfortable as possible because, like I said, cows don't like that heat. So we got fans running, and then of course this feeling coming in this barn right now. If you were here, you would genuinely get to feel how comfortable it does feel, especially if you walk outside and feel the humidity. So in this barn, you see the feed in front of them. That is called TMR, stands for Total Mixed Ration, and that has everything in it that makes it so that they get everything they need to be healthy and productive. So just like you and I need the right nutrients to be healthy, so do cows. So we have to feed the cows a proper diet so that they can produce milk and maintain their health status. Now, a lot of confusion out there as to why are dairy cows thinner than beef cows. So I would tell you that I would compare that to athletes. A dairy cow, she's like a runner. She's like a marathon sprinter. So she tends to be a skinnier, more fit looking. Whereas a beef cow, I would tell you, is more like a bodybuilder where they have more of a stocky and more of a muscular build. So it's just the difference in what their purposes are for. So a dairy cow, when you're looking at these cows, they're not necessarily skinny, but they're more refined. Like much like, you know, a marathon runner is more refined and more, is skinnier. We can obviously tell when you look at me, I'm not a marathon runner. I don't know if I'm a bodybuilder either, but that is how I compare cows and the way they're fit. So if you look here, the feed is fed to them every day. They're given fresh feed, and it's pushed in every 2 hours. We go through and push it in so they never have to stretch very far to get their feed. The two groups that we're closest to, that is our two highest milking groups in our herd. Right now, these particular cows are averaging 110 pounds a day. So, and these cows are all 3 years old or older. So we tend to group them by age. Our 2-year-olds, which had just one calf, will be all in a group by themselves. That way they don't have to worry about the older cows being bossy with them or beating up on them, because you will notice the cows have cliques. They're a lot like your students at school. They're a lot like that, where you have certain kids that are bossier, clickier. It's the whole thing with cows. So you'll develop cliques. So we try and separate the younger ones from the older ones so that we don't have to worry about them getting beat up. But as you stand here for a little while you guys were watching the video, we watched one boss cow keep other cows from coming in to eat. It's kind of funny. If you spend enough time with the cows, they're a lot like kids. You got the cows that are bossy and tell everybody what to do. You got the cows that hang back. So it's kind of fascinating that the personalities that they have. Particular cow you're looking at right now, that's Bling. She's one of my pets here on the farm. So she's a brown Swiss. The brown ones, these are brown Swiss, and the black and white ones are Holsteins. And then I believe if you look behind the Holstein, here comes a red and white Holstein, which is the same as Holsteins, just a reddish color. And then we also have a few jerseys, but there's no jerseys close by to show you. And I don't know how far we can go in the barn before we lose cell service or lose Wi-Fi. But we can walk down through here a little bit. Do I have any questions yet, Amy?
Not about the cows. We've had a lot of more of the technical questions about how we're doing this today. So
Okay.
Oh, we did just get a question in. Why do you have the non-Holsteins? Why do you have other breeds as part of your herd?
Oh, the other breeds? So I actually started when I was 8. I wanted to show brown Swiss in 4-H. And that kind of grew that development of the brown Swiss in the herd. So it's kind of a novelty thing. And now we're milking like 60, 65 head of brown Swiss. It's just kind of a fun novelty thing. They're a little higher in fat, but we don't milk enough that it really dominates the herd. But yeah, they're basically just for the novelty of it. I will tell you that the jerseys are probably more efficient than the Holsteins, except they're harder to house because you got to have a smaller, they learn to find holes and stuff. But yeah, really the color breeds are just the novelty of it, something fun to do. Emma just brought up to me that I should discuss what we feed, some of the different products that we feed here that's mixed in our TMR. We buy products from like Egg Hum, Sporting Valley, different feed mills. We have to actually buy some corn to put in. We buy soybeans. Certain times of the year, there's actually brewer's grain in it. I'm trying to think what else is in it. Molasses, there's molasses mixed into our TMR. Yeah, there's a citrus pulp, which is actually oranges that are chopped up and made into like a pelletized form that are put into the feed. So there's all kinds of neat different things in there. We've already fed chocolate from Hershey's before to our cows, like the Hershey chocolates. And I remember when I was younger, we used to go through the pile and try and find, candy bars to eat. So we feed all kinds of different things to the cows. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that would be fascinating to put in. Oh, something else we do is they have free choice salt and mineral areas where we actually get salt from like Snyder's Pretzel Factory. We get what they can't sell or use. We'll actually feed to the cows because the cows need a certain amount of sodium in their diets. So they actually get salt, and then actually we also have a mineral that they actually get to lick, so they get enough minerals. If they're not getting it in their feed, they'll get it from that lick. Okay.
So we do have a few more questions.
Okay.
Do any of your cows get outside on pasture or not, or why?
So our dry cows and our young stock get out on pasture. So they say it takes an acre of ground for every cow. So to get all these cows out in pasture would be, it would take too much land. And in all actuality, cows, if we opened the gates and left them out, they would walk outside and they'd be right back into where it's cool. The cows don't want to live outside. I'm not saying they wouldn't go outside, but they would actually find it cooler in the barns. There's actually videos, which I know the lady, Katie Pyle, who has done a video where she opened the gates and left the cows go, and they didn't leave. They stayed in their cool barn. So no, these cows here do not go out in pasture. Now as dry cows, they'll be on pasture. But when they're milking, they're in the barns, and a lot of that is just because it's easier to take care of them, and it's a smaller carbon footprint if we don't have them all out in pasture. It's easier to take care of them when they're all in barns like this. We can keep them cooler. We can make sure they're fed the right amount. And it takes up less ground to take care of them. I'm actually the youngest family member that's a partner here. There's actually 5 families that make their living off of our dairy farm. And right now we're milking right around 1,050 cows. And they say for a family to support their family, they have to milk 200 cows. So with neither spouse working off the farm. Now, a lot of your smaller farms, one or the other of the spouses will work off the farm. But we grew this farm to this size because we as a family all wanted to work together and be able to support our families. We had to grow to the size we are. So that's why we did what we did. So we're very much so a family operation. The employees that we have been with us. Some of the employees have been with us for 25 years. So they become part of the family also. So that's why we grew the farm to the size we did, so that we could all work together on the family farm.
That leads perfectly into our next question. What generation are you on the farm, and is there a next generation? And then has it always been a dairy farm?
So I am the second generation. My father milked cows with his parents in Lancaster, and when his father passed away, his mother decided that she didn't want to necessarily milk cows anymore. So him and my mother moved from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania to Adams County. And when they moved to Adams County, they just had 3 children, and they went on to have 2 more, my sister Jane and I. So I'm the second generation here. This farm always was a dairy farm. When my dad bought it, he bought it from a retiring dairy farmer that left the money in it for my dad. And my dad's been here, I believe now 52 years. He's been on this farm. And so I'm the second generation to be a partner of it, and he's brought us in as owners now. And now I have nieces and nephews that are coming back. My oldest niece, she's now working here. She actually takes care of the young stock. She's in charge of all the heifers and calves, and she's expecting her first child in January. And she's talking about wanting to become a part, like an actual owner. But at this point, she's back. I have a nephew that is talking about coming back. So the third generation is getting ready to roll in. And the fourth generation will be born in January. So that's kind of exciting for our family farm.
That's very exciting. And how many employees do you have on the farm?
So we have, currently we have 7 Hispanic employees, and then we have, I want to say three non-family American employees that have all been with us better than, yeah, they've all been with us better than 20 years. And several of our Hispanics, we've actually helped them get their citizenship, and they've been with us for 20 years. When you add family and everything into it, there's about 22 people that work here. But it's a lot of family, which has its good days and its bads. But truly, at the end of the family, nothing better than working with your family and raising your kids on the farm.
Perfect. Shifting gears a little bit, and this will kind of be a few different questions rolled into one. So how do you, or when do you breed them? How do you breed the cows when they're ready to be bred? And then kind of with that, how long do you keep your cows until they're not producing? And then what happens with any male calves? I know there's a few there, so sorry.
Yeah,
I can run back through them if you need to. Yeah.
So the way we breed cow, we do artificial insemination. And the reason we do that is because bulls can be kind of a little more dangerous to work with, because a bull becomes dominant and they want to take care of their ladies, and they forget sometimes that, you know, they're bigger than you. So a bull gets kind of dangerous to work with. We do have a bull running with a group of heifers that if we have problems getting a heifer bred artificial, we will put her with the bull. But again, we're really lenient, or really not lenient, really nervous about a bull, so we don't tend to have bulls running with cows. So we do artificially inseminate them, which if a cow is in heat and ready to be bred, a lot of times she'll just stand there and let you do it. There's a misconception out there that you're forcing those cows to be bred, but you're not, because if the bull was with them, they would be breeding them, because you're breeding them when they're in heat and ready to have a calf. So like I said, when they're a heifer, they're getting bred around 14, 15 months of age, and they're weighing about 950 pounds when we breed them. So when a heifer is full size, ready to have her first calf, she's weighing about 1,350 to 1,400 pounds. And then once a cow hits full mature weight, which they hit full mature weight, I would say probably roughly the age of 4, they're weighing about 1,680 to 1,700 pounds here. That's what the average cow in our herd weighs. And actually, we do a lot of, we actually weigh them periodically, because we want to make sure we're feeding them the right ration to their weights and their size and their frames. So an average cow, so it depends. The one question you asked was, how long does a cow live? So, okay, I said earlier that a cow has to have a calf to produce milk. So once she has her first calf, she starts out giving milk. The further away she goes from having that calf, the less milk she gives. So she has to have another calf to replenish her supply. So we try and breed them. They're calving about once a year. Actually, I think our calving interval is about 13.3 months. So you want them to calve like once a year. That replenishes their supply. So as long as she's healthy and never has any troubles, she can go on. I mean, the oldest cow in our herd right now is I want to say 11 years old, just shy of 11 years old. So they can keep producing. It's much like you and I for health. You know, if you're a really healthy person and never have any issues, you live to be a very old age. But unfortunately, there's times where they don't live to be as old. Right now, the average age in our herd is about 4.5 years old. It's our goal to get them older, because ultimately you want a cow to live as long as possible. But unfortunately, you have times where a cow doesn't breed back, and she's then just she's getting heavier. It's getting harder for her to move around, and she quits giving milk. And it costs a good bit of money to feed a cow. It's not like your dog in your backyard. It costs more money to feed a cow. So if she's not able to produce milk or breed back, then we make the decision that we're going to sell her, and then she'll go for meat. So she'll become the meat supply that, that's in your grocery stores, or McDonald's or stuff like that. You can't sell, if she's not healthy though, you can't sell her. So you can only sell her if she's a healthy cow. If she's not healthy, then that's a different scenario. We can't sell anything that's not healthy. But ultimately, it's our goal that they're here as long as possible. We do everything we can to make sure that they keep producing and are able to stay in the herd, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want them to stay in our herd as long as possible. Not sure if I answered all your questions in that.
You did. Yep. No, that was great. Just a quick clarification, I guess. How long is the gestation period of a cow? You said she tends to have a calf once a year, but what kind of the turnaround?
The gestation period is exactly like you and I. It's 9 months. So 9 months she'll have a calf, and a calf when it's born weighs about an average of 100 pounds. Usually a first calf heifer will have a little smaller of a calf, but it's still probably about an average of 90 to 100 pounds. You can have calves born as big as we've had live calves born as big as 150 pounds. So usually, you know, the cow's not real happy when she's done having a calf that big, but yeah, every 9 months.
Great. And then you talked a little bit about the differences in breeds, but maybe a little bit more on the difference in fat content between the 3 breeds that you have on the farm, and then do various, you know, industries or companies use particular cow breeds for different products, for cheese or ice cream, that kind of thing?
Okay. So right now the fat content on our herd is right. It's right at 4% fat. So one of the things I want to say about that, though, when you go to the store and it says whole milk, keep in mind whole milk is really only 4%, 3.5 to 4% fat. So I love when they say that, oh, this is low fat, but you got to understand it's still not high fat even when you're drinking whole milk. And when you look at the different breeds, Brown Swiss, I want to say right now in our herd, they're averaging right around 4.5 to 5%, and the Jerseys are a little higher than that. I will tell you that, yes, there are some companies that will buy like cheese. Cheese is a product that they tend to buy for higher fat. Emily, what else would they buy for higher fat content? Ice cream and yogurt would be for higher fat. So yes, there are companies out there that will like really only want Jerseys or only want, I don't know, different breeds because they want that higher fat. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you want a higher fat on your Holsteins too. We're trying to get that perfect balance of protein and fat when we're feeding them. We want to make sure that they're that perfect balance. So like the Brown Swiss that you're looking at right now, the Brown Swiss, they're kind of cool because they're all different shades. You got light ones, you got dark ones, you got reddish ones, you got brown ones, gray ones. That's what I like about the Brown Swiss. They're not just black and white. They are kind of fun, different colors. I don't know if that kind of answered your question on the fat content.
Yep, I think so. That's all the questions we have for right now. They kind of came in a flurry there.
Okay.
So you did mention in the video, do you want to talk a little bit about your hospital barn and why some cows might need to go there?
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't have good Wi-Fi service at the hospital barn, or I would take you there. But our hospital barn is a bedded pack barn where there's not as many animals in there. They have a little more, yeah, it's kind of like a hospital for you and I, you know, when you're in your own room in a hospital, or maybe there's only one other person there. But the reason they can't be with the other cows and they're in the hospital barn is because I can't sell their milk, or they're not healthy enough to be out here with the other cows. You know, they're weaker. They maybe have something wrong with a foot. They're on an antibiotic, because just like you and I, you want to take care of yourself when you're sick. We want to take care of our cows when they're sick. So if I have a cow that gets, say, right now, this time of year, it's cows can get like lung issues, which in a dairy cow, we call it pneumonia. In a person, you might say it's bronchitis or a sinus infection, but in a cow, I just classify it as pneumonia. And if a cow gets pneumonia and I want to treat her, because you know, at the end of the day, I love my cows. I want to take good care of them, so I treat her. Well, once I treat her, she can't be with everybody else because I can't sell her milk anymore. So I'll separate her out into a hospital barn where she'll have a little more, not that I don't give all my cows attention, because if I could walk right in with my cows right now, you'd see they'll flock around me. They become pets to me. So, but when she's in the hospital barn, they're getting a little more extra special attention. You know, we're watching them a little closer. We're monitoring their fevers. We're monitoring everything with them to make sure that they're healthy. If we got to IV them, you know, with IV fluids, stuff like that, we can do that. So that's why they're in the hospital barn. It's similar to, you know, when you and I aren't feeling good and maybe have to go to the hospital, we do the same thing for our cows.
Yep, perfect. And then kind of back to the lots of questions that I rolled into one. What do you do with any bull calves, any male calves that you have on the farm?
Oh, so bull calves. So my sister, she raises bull calves that she sells for freezer beef for people. And then we actually have, when she's full and can't take anymore, we actually have another farmer that he buys our bull calves to raise for freezer beef. So yeah, they're getting fattened out to sell for yeah, freezer beef. That is what our bull calves. Some people sell their bull calves to auction that will either go for veal or to someone else for freezer beef.
Thank you. That's all the questions that we have. Emma, I don't know if there's anything else you want to prompt Joy to chat about a bit more.
Okay. We'll walk until you tell us you can't see us no more. How about that?
That'll work.
Yeah. So if a tour was actually coming to the farm, this is the next best thing, but if a tour was actually coming to the farm, we'd actually walk the whole farm. I would show you the feed truck, how we mix the feed, because the feed truck is like it's like a big KitchenAid mixer. We put all the ingredients in, it stirs it all together, and then we put it in front of the cows. Cows are a lot like kids. They will sort out what they don't like, so you got to mix it really well. It's kind of funny because cows will sort things that they don't like. So I tell people all the time, cows are a lot like kids. They'll sort out the vegetables or something like that. I mean, not that we're feeding vegetables to the cows, but, and as you can see here, the sprinklers are running above these cows, and we'll actually find on these hot days, we'll come out here, and sometimes the bunks will just be lined with cows not eating, just simply standing there waiting for them sprinklers to make them wet. It's kind of fascinating. Like, I put a video on my Facebook page the other day of how the cows just stood there. The troughs were lined, but very few of the cows were actually eating. They were just standing there waiting for the sprinklers to cycle through and make them wet. So that's kind of fascinating to watch too. So yeah, so if you were actually coming here, you know, you'd actually see how the water flows through the barns to flush the barns out. We recycle all the water. So we do a lot of things for the environment. We recycle water, we reclaim the sand and clean it. We're actually in the process of putting a separator in. So we'll actually separate our solids from a manure to sell to people for fertilizer for their for gardens or various different things. We're always doing things to help the environment. Someone said earlier about why they're not out in pasture, or what asked about, but actually, you know, it's better for the environment if they're not all out there, because yeah, you're able to control that carbon footprint a little bit more. Manure. Okay. So Emma just said, I don't know if you guys can hear Emma, but she just said about the manure management. And as I said, we're actually in the process of putting a separator in. Our separator was supposed to be done and running already, but the pandemic caused some issues, and yeah, so it finally just got the part that makes our separator work just got here from Italy like last week. So it's been kind of an interesting year for everybody. But for our manure handling, we have to follow guidelines from DEP. My brother is constantly, so the cool thing about being in a family partnership is each of us have a different area that we're in charge of. I'm in charge of the cows, the adult cows. I have a sister that's in charge of the finances. I have my brother who's in charge of the crops and the manure handling and storage. So he's the one that does all that paperwork. And then I have a brother-in-law who is kind of like, he's a partner, and he oversees everything. He goes wherever he needs to go to help people out. So that's kind of the cool thing about a family partnership, that we all have our different areas. But my brother is in charge of the manure handling. We actually have three manure pits on this farm. So it's kind of cool. At the same time, my husband helps my brother with it, and it's also it's an intense process. But actually, we have a manure pit where the manure goes into, and then the liquids are drained from it and go to another manure pit then the liquids are recycled in here so that we can flush our barns with it. And then, like I said, now we're building the separator so that the solids can be sold and broke out. And we do all that to help for the environment. Like I said, we have to follow a lot of guidelines with DEP. We are considered a we are considered a concentrated animal, which is CAFO, right? Yeah, concentrated feeding operation. So that has a lot of guidelines that you have to follow. Yeah, we got to really follow. A certain amount of manure can be applied to our ground. It's pretty intense. My brother has like a book that he keeps track of all his different regulations he's got to follow. And there's a person, sticks out of my head, her name's V, but anyway, she comes in here once a month, once every other month to talk to John, make sure he's following all his regulations and stuff. So manure handling is a pretty intense thing, pretty big part of farming, and yeah, has a lot of regulations and guidelines we have to adhere to. So we do recycle water. She said that somebody asked about recycling water and how much water we use. You know, I don't know the exact amount of water we use in a day. I believe a cow drinks 100 gallons of water a day on average. So just the adult herd, if we're milking 1,050 cows, that's a lot of water they're drinking. Then we're also running water on the cows to keep them cool. And then, of course, there's the water that we need to wash the facilities down, to clean, because in the parlor we have to sanitize everything and clean everything. So I don't know the exact gallon amount that we use, but we use a lot of water, and that is a lot of why we do the recycled water thing. That's why we recycle it. We actually, my brother has done some research on it. We haven't officially done it yet, but there's some research about a cleaning process that you can actually recycle your water, run it through a cleaning process, and you can actually re-drink it. He has actually researched that some. We haven't got to that point yet. I don't know if I'm ready to say that I'm drinking water that was recycled from my cows, but it's out there. It's technology that's coming. But we do a lot of recycling water. I mean, when we walked in here, there was a big, and I don't know, you guys were watching the parlor video, but there was a big tank, an upright tank that has all our recycled water in it. And then we have another tank that, yeah, that we actually keep at another area that claims water too. So we do a lot of recycling water.
Another question came in, Joy. Maybe two more questions. Might be a little bit more, but
Okay.
kind of how many acres do you all have on the farm, and do you grow any feed for your cows on the farm?
So we farm right around 1,000 acres. We actually double crop here, which means we do a spring crop of silage that we chop for our cows, and then we do a fall crop of corn silage. We would love to be able to farm enough ground that we could actually not only chop our corn silage for them, but actually sometimes you have to buy fine ground corn to add to your cow's diet. So we'd love to be able to do that, but at this present time, we can't afford more land. So right now we're right around 1,000 acres, and like I said, we grow silage in the spring and corn silage in the fall, so we can double crop. Yeah, we buy most of our other crops and other the other things that we need for our feed. Cows, you know, funny thing is people think that cows eat corn, like an ear of corn, like whole, like, you know, like the actual kernel. They don't. We actually, it goes through what's called a kernel processor in our forage harvester, and it breaks it up. So like if you look here, it's chopped up and like really fine. So a cow actually can't digest that whole kernel like so many people think. You try and break it up to as small as amount as you can so that the cows can digest it better. So, you know, not to gross anybody out, but it's just like you and I, you can't digest that corn very well. So we tend to break it up for the cows. So that's something else kind of interesting that we do, that we break the corn up. But yeah.
And then kind of you talked about your family members, you know, researching different things. Do you work with, you know, with Penn State Extension or any other entities to help with any of their research projects on your farm?
Yes, we work with Penn State Extension. We work with the Center of Dairy Excellence. That's just two of them. We work with several different areas to help us. We do a team meeting here where our extension, Penn State Extension has helped us, where we meet like every quarter, and we have like actually a team of people that come in and tell us, you know, how to help us do things so that we're doing everything the most efficient and best way to take care of our cows and their environment. So that team comes in, and it's our nutritionist, it's our veterinarian, it's our banker. It's a gentleman from Penn State Extension, actually two gentlemen from Penn State Extension. And then there's another business owner that just, so that he has another. So it's kind of a team that we all get together, and that comes from Penn State Extension. And like, as I said, there's the Center of Dairy Excellence that we work with that helps us with different avenues to help make us better people, better farmers. Yeah, I don't know if that kind of, I'm sure there's other places that we work with, but they're the two that are really jumping out at my head right now.
Sure. And then two questions COVID related. First
My
for the
favorite subject.
cows. Yeah. First for the cows. Do you worry about the cows' susceptibility to COVID-19? Is there any kind of, can cows catch viruses, and are you worried about your cows catching COVID-19?
So I don't know that I shouldn't say I don't know that the cows can catch COVID-19. So COVID-19 is actually the coronavirus. And the funny thing is I actually vaccinate my cows for the coronavirus. The coronavirus itself is actually, it's a common cold virus. So yes, cows can get viruses. We actually vaccinate our cows just like you and I would be vaccinated. They go through a series of vaccines so that they can be protected from that different stuff. So yes, we do worry about that. However, there's something called herd immunity, and once once something like a virus, say, has gone through our herd, yeah, they build immunity to it. So it's a lot like you and I. Yeah. So am I really worried they're going to catch COVID-19? No, I'm not really worried they're going to catch COVID-19. But as I said, they're actually already vaccinated with a coronavirus vaccine. And the COVID-19 is the coronavirus. It's a different strand of it, I'm sure. Yeah, but it's basically the same premise. So they are vaccinated for it. As for viruses and different things, yeah, that can go through our herd. That happens. Just like when your kids are in school, you guys are, I think I'm all talking to all teachers, you get times where you have a lot of sick kids and whatnot, and the viruses spread. That's the same way with cows. They can get different viruses, and it can spread through your herd. And you just have to do your best to take as good a care of them as you can. And hopefully they all survive it. Yeah, it's like I said it earlier, it's herd immunity. So they kind of all learn, everybody adapts to it. Yeah, so that is something that we have to deal with. Yeah, cows can get sick just like you and I. They can deal with different things. We're really particular, like if a new cow comes in, or I said that there's the next generation, we do some shows where our kids take cows to different shows like fairs and stuff. So you want to make sure their vaccines are well taken care of so that when they go there, they're not bringing anything home. But again, it is a chance, just like if your kids have something and they go somewhere, you go somewhere, you're taking a chance. But that is life. So that is just the way that works.
Yep, that's great. And then kind of a wrap-up question, as this is a different format of the Educators Ag Institute, and COVID has affected a lot of things this year. How has that impacted your farm and its operations? Any kind of different practices you've put in place for employees or those visiting your farm? Anything like that? How that has impacted you all?
So COVID-19 has not. I don't want to say it hasn't impacted our everyday, because we have to take care of our cows every day, 365 days a year. So we still had to take care of them. So I don't want to say it didn't impact us, because it did. It impacted everybody. But as for, we do our best, for social distancing if we have to. But in the barns, it's not as easy to say to our employees, you can't be close. But if an employee is sick or not feeling well, we recommend they stay home. When there's tours coming here, if we're outside, we don't worry too much. But if we go inside where it's not, we maybe require mask and whatnot. We try and follow what CDC wants us to do, within reason. I mean, everybody knows that there's different theories on the mask and different theories on everything. So I'm not going to go into all that. But as our everyday working here, COVID has not affected us that much. Now, some farms actually had to dump milk because when the schools closed down, then we weren't able to sell. Milk supply went through the roof because we couldn't move as much. So some farms had to dump milk. Fortunately, our farm did not have to dump milk, but to try and help, we did donate some milk just to try and help to keep somebody else from having to dump. So we did donate some milk to the food bank just to try and make it so that somebody else that maybe couldn't afford that could still sell their milk. The milk price has fluctuated quite a bit through COVID. When COVID first hit, milk price plummeted. It really got dangerously low, and now it's going back up. I'm really not sure I can completely understand what COVID's causing to the milk price, and our milk price is actually Yeah, it's dictated, I think, kind of by the government. We kind of like, farmers are the only people that can't actually tell you what they're going to sell their product for. Somebody else tells them what their product's for. So COVID affected that. The prices fluctuated pretty significantly, but there's been a lot of government grants and stuff to help farmers take care of some of that stuff. I know in the end somebody's going to pay for it, but government's been doing a lot to help us take care of those kind of things.
Great. Well, I think that wraps up all the questions that we have, and we're pushing right up until the end of our time, so we don't want to take too much longer, but thank you so much, Joy, for allowing us to show your farm as part of this. I did, when you mentioned your Facebook page, I did drop the link to that in the chat, so you might get a few more followers today after this session. So be
Sounds
sure
great.
to.
I encourage anybody that, you know, if you're on Facebook and you follow us and you have questions, there's a friend of mine that she's big on Ask a Farmer, not Google. I would love if you guys ever have questions, if a student comes to you and has questions about their food supply, about agriculture, hey, feel free just to message me on Facebook and I'll do my best to answer back as quick as possible. So that, you know, that's what we need to do. So anytime you guys have questions or concerns, or if you saw something that didn't make sense or something, yeah, please ask. Please just message me and ask, and I'd be happy to answer. And follow my page, and encourage your students to follow different farm pages.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Joy and Cassidy. I will pass it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy, Amy, and Emma, so much for joining us. So now we are going to switch over to the Center for Dairy Excellence with Brittany Snyder. And as we do that, there is a poll up about what grades do you teach? We're kind of just interested because sometimes it affects what curriculum may be helpful. So we have a wide range. Let it up for a couple more seconds. All right, so we're mostly about done. I'm going to go ahead, and you can all see we have a lot of high school teachers, some younger elementary, and some upper and middle.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Thank you, Cassidy. All right, I just wanted to make sure before I continue, can someone just let me know or give me a head nod or something that you can hear me? I just want to make sure that I'm being heard and seen and everything. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Sounds great. All right, I'm going to click stop sharing. Well, it's awesome to hear from everybody, and I'm excited to get a chance to chat with you all. It definitely helps me know who's joining us here today to get an idea of who I'm talking to. So certainly as I go through here, if there's any questions, feel free to put anything in the chat or anything in the Q&A. Cassidy, if you don't mind just kind of being my call out person, if I have any questions or anything, feel free to interrupt or catch me when I've got 2 spots for questions. Feel free to let me know what they are. I can try and check too, but that way we can keep attentive to those questions. Well, I will go ahead and dive right in here. Good morning, everyone. I am Brittany Snyder, and I am the Dairy Education Program Manager for the Dairy Excellence Foundation. And actually, as Joy was saying a little bit, she said that she works with the Center for Dairy Excellence, and that is actually our sister organization. We're actually the same staff and the same team that all help the dairy farmers. It's just the foundation itself helps the future of our dairy industry and our youth, whereas the center helps our farmers like Joy. So it was great to hear her give a little shout out to the center. I love working with that team. But today we're going to actually talk about the importance of dairy education and some opportunities you have that you can use in the classroom to teach dairy. I mean, as I get my screen shared here, I'll kind of keep chatting. So as you heard from Joy, obviously there is just an unending amount of information about the dairy industry, and it is just so important for our students and our next generation to learn and know about the dairy industry. And we want to make sure that we can get our message across correctly to our students so they can become thoughtful, encouraging consumers of dairy, or maybe one day promoters or work in the dairy industry, because there are an endless amount of jobs in the dairy industry. So it would be great to really encourage this next generation to love the dairy industry. And that's what these programs can help do for you. So as I said, my name's Brittany. I just shared 3 pictures there for you to just give a little bit of history about myself. Dairy promotion and dairy education has been in my blood ever since I was born. I was raised on a dairy farm in Berks County, Pennsylvania. And all throughout my life, I was a dairy promoter, and I was honored to be on the state team a number of years ago. And so dairy education truly is near and dear to my heart. I've been a substitute teacher. I haven't quite been in the capacity that you guys have been in the classroom, but I understand the classroom. And so that is probably why I absolutely love these programs so much. I actually utilized some of these while I was substitute teaching. Teachers didn't know about it, but I did. And it created a great substitute curriculum when I wasn't given much. So it's worked for both ends of the spectrum. So I'm going to dive right in. I will give you the heads up here. I have a lot of information to cover with you, and I'm going to talk extremely fast. I don't normally like doing that. I like taking my time, but so feel free to take pictures of the screen if you'd like, or we will be sending the presentation after this, so that way you can have the notes to go back and look at. But if you're something that you really want to remember, feel free to take a picture of the screen, and we can go from there. So a little bit about this Dairy Excellence Foundation real quick. As I said, I work for the foundation, and the foundation is really, the mission and the vision is meant to empower the next generation of the Pennsylvania dairy industry. And truly everything we do is meant to build and invest in our next generation of producers, consumers, and advocates for the dairy industry. Now, you might be asking yourself, why should we teach dairy? So we touched on that a little bit, right? As you heard from Joy, there's a lot of great things about the dairy industry, but some of the key points I want to share with you are, first of all, in Pennsylvania, dairy is the #1 agriculture industry, and you might have covered it while you were talking with Joy. I only hopped in halfway through, but dairy is the #1 industry in agriculture, and leading in our economy with millions and billions of dollars in the economy. So it's incredibly crucial to our economy and also to jobs. Today, our consumers are 3 or 4 generations removed from the farm. I would be willing to bet maybe 5, 10 of you max out of the 70 or so that are on the call here grew up on a farm. And if it was a dairy farm, it's probably even less. So our connection to the dairy industry is much further. And dairy makes it really easy to teach and incorporate things like science and technology, engineering, math, even reading and writing, because of how integrated it is with our everyday life. And let's be honest, who doesn't love learning about cows? The gentle giants, the mother of all mothers. They are just the cutest things ever. I might be a little bit biased because they are by far my favorite animal, but there are just so many other reasons and so many reasons to want to teach dairy. All right, so today I'm going to talk about 2 different programs, and the first one we're going to talk about is Discover Dairy. So this first portion is for my teachers who are K through 8th grade, and Discover Dairy really is where we inspire minds to discover dairy. So you might be asking, what is Discover Dairy? Maybe some of you have heard about it, but if not, here's a little bit of a lowdown about what Discover Dairy is. So this curriculum is an educational series that meets the Common Core standards in math, reading, and science. Now, it says it covers 3rd through 8th grade, and I said, down to kindergarten. It is easily adjusted to K through 2nd grade. You have to just simplify some of the terminology, but it's easily used for K through 8th grade. The standards themselves are just written for 3rd through 8th grade. And the best part about it is it's completely online and it's completely free. So in an unknown world that we're in right now, this is the best time to be able to have access to this, because we have everything is fully accessible, whether you're in the classroom or virtually teaching. So just a little bit about Discover Dairy, who uses Discover Dairy. We actually have over 1,800 schools and organizations across the country that utilize Discover Dairy, impacting more than 208,000 students. And among them, we had 908 classrooms, part of the Adopt a Cow program, which I'll talk about later, and hundreds of students that were on live Zoom chats and YouTube chats, kind of like what you guys had the opportunity to do today with Joy. We do that with students later at the end of the year. And then we also offer farm tour field trip grants that actually impacted about 2,000 students. So just a few things of, who uses Discover Dairy. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into this website and truly just show you what you can all find on the website, how to find it, and how it can be useful to you, and how you can teach dairy in the classroom. So as I said, Discover Dairy is an online platform. Here's what your main screen would look like. You can see right there, it says discoverdairy.com. That is your main web address that you want to use to be able to access Discover Dairy. So it's discoverdairy.com. And when you first get to the website, you're going to want to create an account. So it's as easy as clicking the Register Now button, and then you will bring up a screen where you'll just go ahead and put in your information. You'll hit Submit, and it creates a username and password. You'll go back to the main screen and click Login, and you'll just put your information in to log in, click Login, and you'll have access to everything. Now you'll notice if you go to discoverdairy.com right now, you will have access to a few things. You just won't have access to the lessons themselves, but we do have some extracurricular supplemental pieces that are available regardless of having an account or not. But if you have an account, then which is free to create, then you have access to all the lessons. All right, so now we're going to dive into where the lessons actually are on Discover Dairy. So discoverdairy.com, we go to the main menu or the main screen, and you'll find at the top, there is an elementary school and a middle school tab. We're gonna, for today, go to the elementary school tab and then click Making Cows Smile. So you'll see there are 5 lessons in the elementary school, which is 3rd through 5th grade, and middle school, which is 6th through 8th grade. Middle school has 4 lessons, elementary has 5, so there's 9 lessons total. So today we're gonna go ahead and click Making Cows Smile. And this is the screen you'll see when you go to Making Cows Smile. And you can see there's all kinds of things here. Learning objectives, materials needed, virtual learning options, and then it tells you the answer keys and videos that go with it, visual aids, anything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and click on Making Cows Smile Download Lesson so you can see exactly what's all included in this lesson. So when we click on the lesson, this is the first page that you'll see. Something like this, each lesson is obviously different, but you'll see it includes the objectives, the approximate amount of time it takes to finish this lesson, materials that are needed, lesson components that are included in this lesson so you can split up the lesson if you'd like. There's also the motivator, gives you the exact prompts and questions to ask to start the lesson. And there's a video that goes with each one of these lessons. They're about 3 to 5 minute videos that are very educational and fun and engaging and talks about the topic. And then the next page or so would be how to teach the lesson and what concepts to teach. That next page then that you see on the right, that's just one of the visual aids within this first lesson. So it's keeping cows healthy. And we talk about how we keep cows healthy and how we relate it to a human aspect. So, providing a nutritious diet, that's like us having our My Plate. So that visual aid is in there, and we recommend in the lesson to use it as a display and put on the whiteboard or anything like that and physically make the connection from one thing to the other as you're teaching. You'll also see in the lesson different things like this. We have worksheets completely made up for you. This one happens to have a bit of math in there. So they talk about, first they ask you to put it in order by when the cow was born and put in their health records, just like a farmer would have to do. And in the bottom, you have to calculate how much feed a cow would eat based off of how much milk they produce and how many gallons and pounds. So it's a lot of math and realistic things that farmers actually have to do when farming. So it's a great worksheet to use. And of course, at the end of every lesson, you will always find the standards that are provided for that lesson. So as you can see, this is grades 3, 4, and 5. It lists all the Common Core standards that are associated with it and any PA standards that are associated with it. And that's each lesson has those standards listed. If we go back to the Making Cows Smile page, you'll also see virtual learning option. Now, right now, this is the only lesson that has a virtual learning subset, but we actually are doing those updates quite literally as I'm speaking. We are working on updating these pages to include more virtual learning options that will be ready to launch officially and be available before the school year starts. So each lesson will definitely have a Quizlet set. Each lesson will have an ebook, and we're looking into other things like a template for Kahoot and all types of things like that. So we're going to go ahead and pretend to click on that. So the Quizlet set for the elementary level will have about 10 flashcards to study from. In the middle school, we'll have about 20 flashcards to study from. So you can encourage them to do that at home for any tests you want to run online. We also will be having ebooks, and an ebook will go along with each lesson. And right now we do have pamphlets that provide this information, but we're making it very virtual friendly now, and they'll just be able to click through the book. And these provide key terms, key vocabulary, and really goes over all the information that you would probably go over in the classroom. And it allows them to really get the full grasp of what's all being said. That also recaps what's going on in the videos that are provided. And as I said, there are videos that go along with each lesson. And so this is just a quick clip of the YouTube video. They can all be found on YouTube. There's 9 separate videos, but we also have them all hosted on our website. So you can access them either way. The website link will take you right to YouTube. And each one is driven towards accomplishing and covering the topics of those lessons. And again, they're 3 to 5 minutes. They're great quick clips, but it really teaches the students what they need to know about something like animal care. Okay. I talked really fast about Discover Dairy. Here's a quick recap. You find Discover Dairy at discoverdairy.com. It's a free online platform. It follows Common Core standards in math, reading, and science. And it provides things like full lesson plans with answer keys, student worksheets, and labs. The middle school level actually has 2 separate activities, typically an activity and then like a science lab. And then there's also supplementary materials like Quizlets, Quizlet sets, ebooks, videos, etc. So there's all kinds of things that go with Discover Dairy, the curriculum itself. Okay, so now that's Discover Dairy, the curriculum. I'm going to go ahead and explore further into the website to show you what else Discover Dairy has to offer. So we have a classroom enrichment tab on our website. And so if we go to the main page, you'll see classroom enrichment right there in the blue text. When you click on that, it'll take you to a page full of other information. You'll see watch it, read it, learn it, do it, play it, download it, all sorts of different things. So in the top here, you'll see the virtual farm tours listing. Any virtual farm tours that have happened in the past that we have access to, we will have listed and provided under either the elementary, middle school, high school, or general tours tab. And any virtual farm tours that are coming up, we'll have listed on the upcoming tours. And we actually get access to these just because of partnerships with local checkoffs. Anytime a Dane with Amy, whenever American Dairy Association Northeast, whenever they have a virtual farm tour, we'll post it up on here. Same thing with anyone in the Midwest. I'm not sure if everyone's from Pennsylvania or not joining here, but we'll cover tours from all over the nation. So you can find all kinds of tours listed here. We also have the educational video resources option. You can find the Discover Dairy videos there, and there's also additional videos that are really great to use in the classroom, quick clip videos that cover great content. Then if you go down further on that page, you'll see Read It. This is actually an old clip, and I'll explain why. So this little Read It section here, we have put together a culmination of about 30, 40 books that we feel are good educational dairy books. You know, it's more than just click, clack, moo, where you're just learning about the way cows and animals talk or make noises. So these books are actual educational books about dairy, and it gives you what it looks like, the title, the author. The reason this is an old clip is because we actually added what grade level they're good for as well. And then the buy the book link, that's not anything coming to us. That's just purely a link to take you to Amazon or Scholastic Books or whatever it may be. So that way you can buy the book if you're interested in adding it to your library. But these are books that we recommend to be able to cover the topics that we cover in our lessons. And then lastly, if you keep sliding down, you'll see things like Play It and Download It. Play It, there are 5 different games that accompany the Discover Dairy lessons, and so there's 5 different games. I will give you a little heads up. They are outdated a little bit. They still work great. The information is still correct, but they are on Adobe Flash right now. So if anyone's techie and understands that, Adobe Flash is actually expiring December 2020. So good news, we are actually in the middle of revamping all of our, sorry, there's a little fly flying in front of me. We're actually in the middle of revamping all of our games and adding more games, so it's on a newer level and a newer platform. So that's exciting, and that's come in 2021. But right now we just have these games and they still work great. And then we have the Download It section. I understand teachers have tons of stuff on their walls already, and cluttering them up is not what you want to do all the time. But if you're looking for good posters or anything like that, there is a full list of posters on there that can cover all sorts of things. You can just click through and see if there's anything you like. You can make it a handout in class, or you can get it printed for a poster. Anything you want to do with them, they're free at your disposal. Okay. Next, requesting materials. So as teachers, you would have access to be able to request materials from us. So on the main page, again, you go up to the top where it says request materials. And there you put in your information. And it goes over briefly what is ideal for you to request, what's ideal for farmers to request, that type of thing. But when you go down to the bottom of the form, you'll see what the different items are that you can request. This list may change as we go through the year. As things become available or as we develop new things, we'll add them to here. Right now, this is our list. But as teachers, typically during this presentation, I would have a full welcome packet for you to provide for you. So if you're interested in getting that welcome packet with all kinds of information, there's a USB, there's a fun Discover Dairy backpack. If you're interested in getting any of that, I recommend you go on the website and go ahead and fill this out and request one of the Discover Dairy welcome packets, and we can make sure we get one mailed to you. We can also send you farm field trip stuff. That farm tour packet and guide, it says one per farm. That really is just for farmers. It won't do you any good. It's just to help walk farmers through how to have a farm tour. But then the rest of it is for teachers as well. So Discover Dairy activity sheets we can send you, pre-printed sheets. There's packs of 25. And we also have student activity and coloring books that we can send you as well. And that's complimentary of American Dairy Association Northeast. So we've got some of those that we can send, plus some others that we have. All right. Some more additional Discover Dairy programs and information. I'm telling you, Discover Dairy just gives and gives and gives, and that's probably why it's one of my favorite programs. So more about Discover Dairy. We have a program called Adopt a Cow. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's heard of Adopt a Cow before, but it's probably my most favorite program that we have, just because it's fun and it's dealing with calves, and I get to talk with teachers all across the country. So a little bit about Adopt a Cow. Adopt a Cow is the opportunity for you and your class to adopt a calf from Pennsylvania, from a Pennsylvania farm, and get to learn and hear about their growth and what they eat and what changes, and hear about the farm throughout the school year. Registration, as it says, is from August 1 to October 15th, and it's on our website. There's an Adopt a Cow tab, and the registration form will show up starting August 1st. And after registration, we'll close registration, and then we assign you a calf, because the calves are born sometime at the end of September, beginning of October. And then you'll get your first update/video in November. We send a video first to introduce you to the farm that you are adopting a calf from. Then in December, you'll get your first update, which is mailed to you. And it's a physical print picture of your calf and some information. And then the next two updates are digital updates. And they're PowerPoints with pictures and information about your calf. They're very pictorial PowerPoints. It's just the platform we use to send pictures. And you'll get one in like January, February time, and then March, April time. And the little fun thing here is if you're one of the first 100 to register for Adopt a Cow, we are giving out Discover Dairy Farm school kits again this year. Last year, they did have about $120 value. There were 5 dairy lessons that were in there. One was a Discover Dairy lesson, and then there were 4 other lessons that were great lessons to use. One was tied in with Field to Play 60. One actually talks about sharing and caring while talking about dairy. So one was making butter, all sorts of things. So that kit is actually a really fun kit. This year we realized we don't really know what's going to happen and if we're going to stay in school long. So we're actually going to make that kit part virtual, part in person, so that way it works for regardless of how the school year goes. So we're still tweaking those last minute final things are going in that packet, but it's a great kit to win. And I will tell you, we had over 100 people register by August 1st last year. So if you want to get that kit, I recommend you sign up by August 1. All right, and just a little bit more real quick about what's in that Adopt a Cow kit. You'll get photos of the calf, the farm family. You'll get an official adoption certificate. There are many lessons that go with each update. So these mini lessons do follow Common Core standards, as well as some of the PA Act, I'm drawing a blank on the exact wording for it, but the career standards that are now in Pennsylvania. So they will be covering a few of the career standards as well. And a cool thing about Adopt a Cow is you have the opportunity to have the kids practice their writing skills, and we encourage you to write letters to the farmer. And you can email them or mail them to me, and then I mail the letters out to the farm as a group, and the farmers absolutely love getting all of those letters. And that picture there, right, is just a classroom that got to Adopt Bingo, and she took some of the slides that we sent and printed them, and took the photo that we sent and printed it and made this really cute reveal. She did a gender reveal with her class, and it was the cutest thing ever. She had a chocolate chip cookie that said it's a girl, and it was adorable. So you can do all sorts of things with it. We provide you the basics. You do with it as you please. It's an awesome program. Feel free to reach out to me ever if you have any questions about it. All right, so next is the Farm Field Trip Grant and Curriculum. We do offer $250 grants to help cover dairy field trip expenses. Again, not sure how relevant that's going to be this year, but it is still going to be there. So if your school is lucky enough to be in school, things go the right way, we're able to get out of school and go on to farm field trips and things, this is available to you. You just have to apply for it, and that application is on our website. And we do have a pre-tour lesson that you can do in the classroom, or you can have a farmer or a dairy princess come and talk to you. I know, working with American Dairy Association Northeast and their spokesperson organization, they can have farmers come into classrooms or presentations. We're lucky enough to have the connection with the dairy princesses, and we do actually have a form. This will come in the packet if you order a packet, and we'll also email this out to everyone that signs up for Adopt a Cow. But this is a princess form. All you have to do is fill out that information, and about 30 days or more before a visit that you'd like the princess to come, we'll send that information to the princess, and then between you and the princess, you guys will coordinate when they come to your classroom. And I will tell you, as a past princess and a past promoter, I loved school promotions. It was a lot of fun for me, and I know the kids loved it. The princesses come in with activities, with games, with crafts, with all kinds of things, a skit, fun videos, all sorts of things. And so it's a really great half-hour brain break while still learning some really great stuff about dairy that can go right along with your dairy lessons. Okay, so that is Discover Dairy, and I am like ticking down the time here. So feel free to go ahead and put any questions about Discover Dairy in the comments or anything. I will come back to the end because I want to make sure I have enough time here to go ahead and talk about the one other program that we have. But Cassidy, sorry, real quick, are there any questions about Discover Dairy as of now? I didn't look.
Not unmuting. There are a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have to be from Pennsylvania to do Adopt a Cow?
Nope, anywhere across the country. We actually even had some from Mexico and Canada last year. So it's international even. You can be from anywhere.
Very cool. Can high school classes adopt a cow?
Absolutely. Now the curriculum that's the lessons that are written in it, the standards are written more for that 3rd through 8th grade level. But I've had a number of high school and preschool classes adopt a calf, and then the teacher, usually it's more for a fun aspect on that level, and then they add in their own information and add their own lessons that go with it to meet their level. But oh yeah, anyone can adopt a calf.
Very good. And one more, if we request materials, can we use a home address or does it have to be a school address?
Wherever it's going to get to you, especially since we don't know where we're going to be. So a home address is totally fine. Or if you prefer it to come to school, that's fine. If it is a school address, I've had it bounce back to me a couple of times because certain schools need the address to look a specific way. So if you do a school address, just give me the heads up if something has to be particular. Otherwise, it doesn't make it there sometimes just because it gets wonky. But home addresses shouldn't be a problem at all. Absolutely. All right. Okay.
That's it for now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Cassidy. All right, I'm going to try and get through DLT here real quick for you. So I'm talking to my high school teachers now. This is another fantastic program. It's a little bit different, and we'll talk about how and why, but this is called Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow. And really, this is where we inspire that next generation dairy farmer. So we're going to talk about what is Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow. Well, Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow is a comprehensive program designed specifically to prepare high school students to work in the dairy industry. And with this program, there are actually industry recognized certifications that can be earned in dairy herd management and dairy business management. And just like Discover Dairy, it is online and it is a free platform for you and your students to use. Now, I will say, as we go through the core elements here, Discover Dairy is really more for the teacher to log in and get the information and then share it. Now, there are some of those virtual pieces that kids can go on and access, but DLT is very specific that we have logins for students and logins for teachers, and there's a direct internet relation. There's an online grading book and all kinds of things. So this is really a great online learning tool, which can be perfect for virtual learning. And it's been like this for years, but it kind of just happens to work out really well as we kind of shift to more virtual learning lately. So 3 core elements. We've got the formal learning curriculum, which we'll go over, on-farm learning experiences, and scholarship opportunities. So just like the Discover Dairy website, we're going to go ahead and explore the DLT website real quick. This is what the DLT website looks like. So it's dairyleadersoftomorrow.com, as simple as that. And just like Discover Dairy, you have to create an account. So you'll click register now and fill out the information. Like I said, DLT, there are teacher accounts and there are student accounts. So if you're obviously for teachers, you'll go ahead and select instructor, fill out your information and hit submit. There is one extra safety protocol step with DLT making an account. So you'll get an email telling you to please verify that this is you and this is your account. Make sure to verify that account and then use your login information. If you don't verify, it's going to keep kicking back your username and password because you haven't verified. If you're having any issues, just email me. We're pretty sure we worked out most of the kinks this summer. We were having some things go kind of crazy last year, but if you have any issues, obviously feel free to reach out. But once you're logged in and have your information, everything's good to go. So some program highlights about DLT. Each lesson includes a 5-question quiz to test the student's awareness of the key topics. There are quizzes and certificate exams, and those exams and quizzes are automatically graded and recorded in the online grading system, which you as a teacher have access to in your group teacher side of your account. There is a secure folder on the website that provides all of the answer keys for every single lesson and every quiz. And all of the coursework, like I said, can be done either traditionally in a classroom. You can feel free to print all of this and teach it in person, or you can do it all virtual, or you can do a blend of both. Whatever makes sense to you. DLT is very versatile and you can do with it as you please and what works for your teaching style. So once you're logged into DLT, those 2 little green My Courses and My Account will pop up for you. To access the curriculum, you'll click on My Courses. You'll see there are 3 courses: Intro to Dairy, Dairy Herd Management, and Dairy Business Management. Each one has 8 lessons total, so there's 24 lessons total throughout the whole thing. For today, we're going to go ahead and click on the Introduction to Dairy lesson. Sorry, this is really tiny. Hopefully you have a big screen, but the one on the left is what you'll see very first when you click on the lesson. And then as you scroll down further, you'll see course content. And there are 8 lessons listed there and then the quiz at the bottom. So to continue through the course, you go ahead and click on lesson 1.1. And when you click on that, your lesson 1.1 shows up. It tells you your time, the essential questions, vocabulary, student lessons. There's a fillable PDF and a print version for the PDF. There is videos, reading passages, graphics that are needed. Anything that's needed for that lesson will be listed here. You go through the lesson, you teach it as you wish. You require the students to do whatever work they need for your end. What we need on our end to be applicable for the certificate is just for them to complete and pass the quiz. So once they complete the information for you, complete all of the worksheets and everything, they come on here, they complete that 5-question quiz, which is at the bottom. Once they pass it, they can move on to lesson 2.1 or 1.2, sorry, 1.2 and then 1.3 and so on and so on. This is 2.1, so this is the dairy herd management course, and then 3.1, which is the farm business management course. So they're all laid out the exact same. All of them have the quizzes at the end, and once you finish 1.1 to 1.8, they then take that final exam, which is about 40 to 50 questions. Once they pass that, they can go on to the next level. As I had said, there are certificates that are available for this. So after completing and passing the herd management and business management courses and the exam, a certificate is automatically generated and awarded to that student. The student has to pass the test with an 80% or better, and they can take that test as many times as they need to pass it. The cool thing is, as a teacher, you can see how many times they've taken it. So for your own personal records, if you want to tell them, we'll take the grade that you get, that's the best one between the first 2 times they take it, that's fine. For our benefit though, maybe they have to take it 6 times so they can get 80%. I really hope not. But if they need to, that they can do that, so that way they can receive their certificate. But that's an option out there, and that you can still see how many times they took the test and what their past scores were, so that way you can keep them for your own records. All right, I do apologize, I'm running over here. I'll go as fast as I can, but obviously you can ask me any questions. I've got 2 more important slides here I want to cover quick. So we have on-farm experiences. So let me just break real quick. That was DLT curriculum itself. The curriculum, just like kind of like Discover Dairy, that's the curriculum of 3 courses, 2 of them have certifications. Now we're moving on to that number 2, where those on-farm experiences come into play with DLT. We offer 2 different on-farm experiences. We have exploration experiences and farm tours. Exploration experiences are a smaller group of students, and there is an application required. This is usually 15 to 25 students that are selected from across the state. Both of these, I will say, both of these are Pennsylvania specific. The curriculum itself, that is nationwide. These 2 experiences are Pennsylvania specific. So this exploration experience allows the students to dive into one career option within dairy and just have a full day exploring that career option. So last year we were at Penn State and we did a food science thing. They led one of their labs in their food science department. That picture is down in their ice cream and lab department down in the food science building. We were in there. Penn State talked to them all about what food science is and what kind of careers have those opportunities. It was a great all-day hands-on experience learning about food science. A couple of years ago, we did one very vet-centered. We did a full necropsy on a cow, and they were like, elbows deep in a cow, in the organs, checking them all out. We had a young vet who was leading us through that, and it was an awesome experience. And we're going to continue doing those. We do have one that we're hoping to do for the fall. We're going to see how things work out. We'll be announcing dates soon. We're just waiting to see how the school year looks. And then with farm tours, we are planning to move forward with our farm tour. Farm tour is more for a general group of people. We take between 50 and 75 students on this. This can be, your whole ag class or just a couple people from your class. And you meet us at a certain point, and then we pick you up at that one location. We'll be on buses, and then we tour 2 different farms and an ag business that day. And at each spot, we talk about careers in dairy and also just about dairy in general. But it gives them a really broad spectrum picture about the different careers that are available in dairy, whereas Exploration Experience hones in on one career in dairy. So the farm tour this year is going to be held in October. So there's going to be the first or second Friday in October. We're still pinning down that date with the farms, but it is in Somerset County. So if you're near Somerset County, the drive wouldn't be too bad for you. And I highly recommend you considering bringing some of your students to this farm tour coming up. Again, emails will go out. If you go on our website and create an account, you'll get added to our emailing list, and you'll get notifications about the farm tour and exploration experiences as they come up. And one last thing before we end here are the scholarships. We do have student scholarships and teacher scholarships. We offer 2 $3,000 scholarships to students. Students must be a senior in high school pursuing a career in agriculture, and they must pass 2 of the 3 DLT lessons, that final exam lesson. So that includes Intro to Dairy and then one of the certification courses. Those were our 2 winners last year, and our committee is working on selecting the 2 winners this year. And then for our teachers, we offer 3 $1,000 scholarships. Now these scholarships, really the only prerequisite is that you need 1 student to have completed and passed 2 of the DLT course, 2 of the 3 DLT courses. And once you have a student that's gone through it, then you can apply for it. There's an application online. Again, this is all accessible on the website. And this $1,000 scholarship is to help pay for those continuing education expenses for different conferences. So like this conference usually is in person, and there would usually be an expense. So it could go towards paying for this conference, NAAE, NAITC, or any other state or national, conference. Both of these are for Pennsylvania and non-Pennsylvania residents. So this can be for teachers in and out of Pennsylvania. Both of these are applicable to anyone across the country. All right. Sorry, I apologize. I word vomited a lot of information to you, but if you can't tell, I'm very excited about all of this. I live and breathe this. I am very fortunate that I get to lead these programs, and I will do everything I can to make these programs accessible for you and possible for you to teach in your classroom. Truly, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Here is my information. Feel free to take a picture of the screen. That's my email address. That's my phone number. We do have an office number, but nobody's in the office right now. So feel free to reach out to me that way. I'm very responsive to text. I'm just in and out of a lot of meetings and calls and things. So text or email is great. And then we can schedule a time to chat on the phone. All right. So I apologize, Cassidy and Charlene. I ran over here a little bit, but if there's any questions, I can take any. And I hope this has inspired you to include and teach dairy in your classroom this year. I know we're navigating a lot of crazy waters, but hopefully these 2 online resources are useful for you and you're able to teach dairy in the classroom.
Thank you so much for sharing all of those resources. They should definitely be very helpful. All right, and everyone, thank you for joining us today for both parts of our session. We do have the post-session survey in the chat box. If you could all take that, that's very helpful. So thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you at 2 o'clock for Dairy Foods 101.